Okay. Hello, guys. Welcome to the Doc and Doula Show. I am your host, Jackie Zuck from Nexon Media. I am so excited to be here with Erin Carroll-Manning, an amazing doula and family care specialist, and the amazing virtual therapist, Dr. Bonnie Wims. Hi, guys. Welcome to your show.
Hi there.
Hi. Thanks, Jackie.
Of course. So, Dr. Bonnie Wims, tell our audience who you are and what you do.
Okay, so as Jackie said, my name is Dr. Bonnie Wims. I am a virtual therapist, and I am a counseling psychologist by training. Originally, I was trained when I lived in London, England, and when I moved back to the States, I guess about 2012 now, it's been a while, many clients in my private practice wanted to follow me and continue to work with me, which was great. And so we started working online, and that was kind of my first experience besides, the casual FaceTiming and stuff that you did with friends. And so I started to use different platforms and work with these clients, and pretty soon I found that I really, really loved it. And there were two reasons: that I could be more flexible with my appointment times because I was in my home and they were in theirs. There were no office hours or, offices that I had to rent. And then also that it was more affordable for people as a result. So anyway, fast forward to 2020, and I work exclusively online with people, and I just love it. I just feel like it's such a great way so that I can reach more people and that people can take advantage of therapy. So I am committed to removing obstacles to mental wellness through online counseling, because I just like I said, I feel like this is the way of the future, so that people can access help for when they're struggling with some everyday challenges, like sleep, anxiety, anything, that I'm somebody that can work with them on their schedule.
Love it. All right, postpartum doula and family care services, Gentle Giraffe founder, Erin Carroll-Manning. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you, Jackie. I am Erin Carroll-Manning, and I own Gentle Giraffe's Newborn Care and Family Services. As Jackie mentioned, I am a postpartum doula and a master newborn care specialist. I am actually your personal newborn care manual, and I like to think that I bridge the gap between the books and the docs. Bottom line is that I've been in the private childcare industry for just shy of 30 years, bringing all sorts of care to families. And about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I wanted to do something a little bit different and hone in on more of a specialty. And I became a postpartum doula and took training for become a newborn care specialist. So I bring hands-on care to families in home, teaching them and educating them about their newborn. And number one thing that I like to talk about and do is get the baby sleeping so the whole household is sleeping. And by the time the moms go back to work or the dads go back to work, the whole entire household is sleeping peacefully, and everybody's rested and their house is more calm.
Love it. And we wanted to pair you guys together to really help moms during this time in their lives when they need it the most, right? Is that really the point? So
yes.
It's awesome. Okay, so our topic today is we want to talk about lack of sleep and how it's affecting newborns to grandparents. So Bonnie, do you want to start first?
Sure. And I just want to thank Erin also, because she and I chatted about this a while back. We met through Jackie, of course, because Jackie's like the, 6 degrees of separation, like everything comes through Jackie. Yeah. But Erin and I were talking, and obviously Erin is providing such an amazing service and such a wonderful thing, which I so wish I had when I had my children. But thinking about the mental health aspects of it, along with the practical aid and all of those things, we just thought we were kind of a match made in heaven to talk about issues that people, young moms and families might be challenged with. And lack of sleep, can there be anything more common that happens when you have a baby? It's just the number one thing that everyone talks about. Everything that's happening, and then on top of that, the sleep is disrupted and there's not a consistency to it. And I just think it really compounds anxiety depression, postpartum, all sorts of issues can be exacerbated and really provoked by the lack of sleep. So when Erin and I were talking, we were just talking about ways in which to kind of marry the idea of mental wellness with doula and everything that Erin does to help people have a calm household. Thinking about the lack of sleep, I was just thinking about a lot of, they're boring psychological studies that I only like to read, not the rest of you. But there's so many interesting stories about what happens to people when they don't sleep or when their sleep is interrupted. And then I don't know if you guys realize this, but like the morning after, maybe you don't have a great sleep or you're up really late and you had to get up early, like you physically feel ill. Like people say, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't feel well today. And if you ask them about their sleep patterns, a lot of times that's one of the challenges is that they're not sleeping well. You can physically feel ill from not having a good sleep. Then, add into all the other issues around why you're not sleeping, So if you have a newborn, most parents are worried, you're concerned about this child. I'm recent grandmother, and my son on day 2 said to me, all I'm focused on is keeping this thing alive. Like that was his angst, his big fear is, holy crap, I have this little being and it's my job to keep it alive. So worry and anxiety and all the things that can keep you awake, plus a crying baby and all of that stuff. So I really think feeling ill and not feeling like your best self when you haven't slept well, but then you don't really have those resources that you get from a good night's sleep in the way in which you can kind of take on feelings of anxiety or take on feelings of insecurity. When I don't sleep well or when I'm tired, that's the time I don't feel the most confident. I feel like I can't do it. Like, you guys, at the end of the night, if you're going to bed, it's not the time to start thinking about that big project you're going to take on because you don't feel capable, you're tired. And so when we're fatigued, I just feel like it really hits our confidence. It also hits our sense of just feeling able to take on the challenge and capable. And lots of, I don't know about you, Erin, if you'll say this, but lots of parents, I think that's their biggest fear is that, what have I taken on? Am I going to be able to do this? And
absolutely.
Yeah. So I think
totally agree with that. And as you said that I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but as you said with your son, he is worried about making sure that child's alive. But imagine the mom who has just gone through childbirth and how exhausting that can be. And if they've had a vaginal delivery, they're usually out of the hospital within 48 hours. They don't get a lot of guidance and help on how to take care of that baby. And then on top of that, if she chooses to breastfeed, that's really exhausting as well. And they usually don't teach them or educate them about when the milk comes in and how you need to have the baby up to the breast every 2 hours for during a 24-hour period. So that's exhausting. And then just the chemical hormones and the imbalances that are going on with the mom and all of that, you combined it all, it's kind of, it can kind of blow up in everybody's face too, because the lack of sleep and all of that kind of goes around. And then the baby's crying too. And they're like, what's going on? I need to feed them. I don't know, all this different stuff. And it just is kind of becomes a, a never-ending whirlwind of emotions and lack of sleep and stress and anxiety for them.
Yeah. There's a really good study they've done years ago about sleep deprivation and the results of it. And, they actually put people in these places and didn't let them sleep. And people hallucinate, people go through all sorts of an emotional roller coasters, much closer and easier to cry or to get angry. A lack of patience, a lack of being able to think rationally about what's happening. Whereas when you fully rested and something presents itself to you, you might think to yourself, okay, that's something I can handle. What are the steps to handling that? Calm and being able to manage whatever's coming to them because they've already feel so heightened.
Yep, I do. I see it too. And I see it affect the baby as well. Because if you're not calm,
good point.
I mean, there's no real science study behind it, but we all kind of know, like, if whatever our energy is, everybody else is going to be kind of affected by it too. Well, the baby's really affected by our energy. So if we're not calm and cool and collected, the baby's going to feel that. And then it's going to exacerbate how the baby's feeling. If the baby's crying, it's going to get worse because the mom's not going to know, or the dad's not going to know how to calm them down. And they're going to go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, and not just take those like 10 minutes to breathe and relax and then come back in. Because like you said, it's the lack of patience that they have, and the anxiety, and their brain's not functioning correctly.
Do you, Erin, what do you tell them? Like, what are tips that you give new moms and dads on sleep? Because some of that is just not the opportunity to do it.
Correct.
Let alone when you try to do it, maybe you can't sleep because you're worried or whatever. But what are your tips to people that are,
So I really like to try to get in from day one what in our industry calls happy and healthy sleep habits for the baby. So also knowing the science behind how long a baby can stay awake for. Really within like the first 2 to 4 weeks, the baby can really only stay awake for about 45 minutes to 60 minutes at a time. And that's including feeding. So a lot of times I just say, literally, you're going to feed the baby, you're going to put them right back to bed. That's all you're kind of doing. And allow them also to learn to fall asleep on their own. And then during that time, you take a nap, or you rest your body, or you do whatever you need to do. And try during the day to feed the baby every 2.5 hours, especially after they've gotten back to their birth weight. And then at night, get into like a nice night routine that the baby's down about 7 p.m. They're obviously going to wake up in the middle of the night because they need to feed again. But you kind of go to bed at that same time for a little while, or like an hour after or something like that. So you're getting as much sleep as you possibly can during that time. Some of the other tips is that hire someone like myself to come in during the day to do the laundry for you, to do your dishes, to run your errands, do all that other stuff so you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to exert the energy for it. We're doing all of that for you. And at the same time, we're there to be able to help you if the baby is fussing and you are too overtired and your anxiety is a little on the high side. We can take the baby and calm the baby down, and you can go and take time to rest as well. So it's really important sometimes to have somebody who is not emotionally invested in the situation, but is there as an outsider to be able to take care of all that other stuff so you can get the quality care that you need for yourself.
And laundry and dishes. Oh my God. Can I sign you up even if I haven't had a baby?
Yes. There are a lot of people that do that. There are so many different types of doulas out there now too.
I just want to chime in.
That's great.
Can I just chime in for a second? I feel like parents feel, especially with newborns, that they have to do it all on their own. Like that they have to just take out all this stuff and feel like they have to do everything on their own and not have outlets for, like, you guys, like both of you, like for a therapy session, for help to take stuff off their hands. Like, can you guys talk a little bit about, obviously Erin kind of chimed in about how you can do their laundry and dishes, but like Bonnie, maybe you want to chime in on like having that outlet just to like vent. I'm sure Erin gets plenty of venting.
Well, I was going to say, before Bonnie chimes in, I just want to say too, though, is that at least in America, it's expected that like after you have a baby, you basically need to go back and do your same routine. There is no downtime to recover from it. And parents need to realize that even if they have the best delivery, they need time to recover. And our society puts so much pressure on them that they need to do everything and they need to be perfect right away from the get-go. And we kind of need to change that. They need to realize that their life has changed for the better in so many ways. But that's something that we have to change as a society to get them to understand that they don't have to be perfect. And it's okay to ask for that help. And it's okay that their house is a little messy. It's okay that they, didn't take a shower for 2 days, whatever it could possibly be, because it's okay. You just had a baby and you are learning your new life.
Erin, tell everyone your tagline. You didn't even say it earlier.
Oh, so I like to say that we bridge the gap between the books and the doctors. So parents love reading books before they have a baby, and they love listening to the doctors, which is phenomenal. But a lot of times some of that stuff gets crossed and they don't know how to fit it together. And that's where I like to come in and say, these are what this book is meaning and what the doctor's meaning, and this is how we kind of put it together. And doctors are wonderful, but a lot of times, unless they specialize it, they don't understand the patterns of baby sleep, and they don't understand breastfeeding and that kind of stuff. Because pediatricians have to know 0 to like 18, and that's a lot of stuff. So if we can support the parents in those two crucial things, especially the first month or 2 months, which is literally baby needs to grow and develop, so they need to eat and they also need to sleep. So if we can help them with that and kind of take a little bit of that pressure off of the doctors, but also help them understand what they've read in the books, that's just kind of like what we do, and we help them there. So we're supporting everybody in all different aspects and fields of what we do, helping to develop this baby and make the family come together as a family.
Yeah. It's so funny, Jackie, when you're talking about thinking about what the pressure sort of newborn parents of newborns have on them. I was thinking that whole idea of perfectionism that we're talking about, but also, and I think Erin and I talked about this briefly before when we were talking about this, there's a lot of research being done on the trauma of childbirth.
Yes.
And little attention has been paid, like you said, this thought of, oh, okay, we just had a baby, and now I'm going to go home and not only continue to live my life, but now raise this thing, no thought to, like, if you went through what you went through in childbirth, but didn't have a baby, like somebody said, oh yeah, I was in solid pain for 48 hours and did all these things, like that would be like, people would be, are you okay? And like, how much rest do you need? And what can I do for you? The thought of what childbirth is like, and then to just think that it's something that you just brush off, so happy to have this child and I'm fine. Women are in physical pain. Women are emotionally traumatized by childbirth. It can go on for days. It can be incredibly painful. It can be incredibly terrifying if something goes wrong, or there's a threat that something's wrong, or an emergency C-section, all these things that I'm sure you know better than I do about. So the trauma of childbirth is something that is slowly coming into psychological studies, and I think it really needs to be done more. So to help identify and acknowledge what it is that people have gone through, and all the more, taking off that pressure that they have to just clap their hands and say, good to go now, I'm going to take care of this baby, and then start all the stuff that, a newborn needs. So there's that. And then the other one, in the most extreme situations, and you probably have seen this and you can speak to it better than I can, although I have worked with clients in postpartum. So that goal to be perfect, that goal to do it right. And then if you don't feel right, that I'm not bonding, I don't feel like I'm natural at this, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm not doing it like my mother, or whatever a million thoughts people can have in their minds. And then the women that don't reach out, so you're experiencing this postpartum, and you can probably talk about the symptoms a little better than I can, but I certainly know with my second child that I experienced it to a small degree, but certainly crying in the morning, had absolutely no idea why, looking at this beautiful little baby and just crying, feeling like I was alone in the world, that nobody was there for me, even though my husband was there, just feeling really disconnected and feeling isolated, and turning it all on myself. I must be a bad mom because I'm not feeling this the way the Hollywood movies, the music swells and we're all holding that baby with our hair perfectly done and makeup on magically right after labor. So maybe you could talk about those issues a little bit more, but I find those two things are really challenging.
Absolutely. It is really challenging. The more that I dive into my industry and what I see too, it's really sad and scary, the amount of trauma that there is surrounding birth. You can have trauma, you can have the best delivery, but because you had trauma from something else that happened 5 years ago, that could be brought up again. So now you have that, and now your PTSD has come back, and now you also have a baby, and you have to deal with all that, and it's a whole thing. Like, and a lot of times, and moms don't want to talk about it because they feel ashamed. They think that, like, you know, how you said that I'm looking at this beautiful baby, but I'm crying. What is wrong with me? Yeah. They say the same thing to themselves. And it can be really hard sometimes to pick up on the symptoms as well, because a lot of times when moms feel like they're not bonding with their baby, they hold their baby more. And from an outside perspective, you look at that saying, wow, they really love their baby. Look at them. They just want to be with their baby all the time. You know, all that kind of stuff. But there could be something more going on with them mentally that most people from an outside perspective wouldn't pick up. So with me being there, or somebody, you know, from my industry being there, who again is an outsider, can pick up on some of these things, can see a little bit more about how the mom's going, what is going on, and we can talk to her about it, we can ask her about it, or just wait until they tend to bring things up to us as well, and we can piece things together to find out what's happening. And a lot of times when that happens, depending on how everything's going, is when you might want to talk to the partner and ask the partner about, like, how were they beforehand, you know, just to kind of gauge what is normal, to know where you need to stand and what you need to look for too. So that comes with, like, the postpartumness, but you have to also understand the first couple of weeks, there's what we call the baby blues. So you have to also, it's a delicate and a fine line that we kind of have to, like, walk and look for too. First 2 to 3 weeks is just your body going through your normal stuff, but it's kind of like after that you have to kind of see what's kind of going on too. And also breastfeeding is huge right now, and everybody kind of wants to breastfeed, or majority of the people want to breastfeed, but what they don't understand is how emotional and physical it is to breastfeed. And if it's not going 100% right, they turn inward and think it's themselves. And that's another thing that can bring up trauma. And it may not be their fault at all. It could be something that's going on with the baby. It could be a myriad of things. It could be just that their milk's not come in yet, because sometimes it can take 9 days. It could have been the fact that they had a C-section. There could be multiple reasons for it. And it's not always them, but women, especially in our society or our country, turn inward and think everything is us. So imagine if we have all of that on our plate, and then on top of that, have to take care of the baby and feed the baby. Then we're not getting sleep. All of it acerbates every single angle in every direction, and it can be such a really, really, really hard time for moms. And I don't think they understand that. It's hard. It's a normal time though, but that's when they really need to reach out and get help, whether it is from you or from me or other friends of theirs who've had children coming in, and not just coming in to hold the baby, but come in and take the trash out, or come in and just give the mom a hug, or give her a call and say, hey, I just want to know how you're doing. Not so much the baby. I have a client, I believe it's a current client right now, and she got a phone call or something from a friend of hers, and she goes, wow, that was the best phone call. That friend wanted to know how I was doing. And I noted that. I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. And it was within the first 2 to 3 weeks of having the baby. And it makes a lot of sense that we need to start thinking about the mother and not always just about the baby as well, and the household. Because the fathers, it's starting to come out, 10% of fathers, or one in every 10 father gets postpartum depression too. So it's affecting the whole household. And I would assume that's due to the lack of sleep that they're getting as well, or their anxiety because they have to go back to work and they're worried about their wife and they're worried about their child or their husband. You know, all of that kind of, it's a whole household family dynamic that they deal with. Yeah. And a lot of people don't understand the complexity of what it means to have a child and deal with all of the trauma and beautifulfulness of having a baby as well.
Guys,
but from your point of view though, Bonnie.
No, I'm just saying this has been so inspiring. I what else do you want to say about it? I don't want to interrupt, but I just feel like we have so much knowledge to share that could be endless episodes, you know?
Absolutely. I agree. But Bonnie, from your perspective, have you had clients that have come in that have postpartum depression, and like what have you given them for tips and dealt with or handling them?
Yeah, Thanks, Erin. Yeah, I have, absolutely. And I was thinking when you were talking there, just just how incredibly useful and normalizing all the information you were just giving. Like, I think that's just like the number one step is to normalize this. And it doesn't mean anything other than this is hard. It's
Yep.
not like the movies, it's hard yeah, people do it all the time, but it's hard. And so, that's, therapy in a nutshell is me trying to help people understand themselves better. But in that, normalizing what they're going through so the judgment of what they're going through is decreased. And I feel like with new parents, there's so much judgment of themselves if they don't feel like they're doing it right, or if they don't feel as good about it. And like I said, take a baby out of the equation. You go through 48 hours of some painful procedure. You go home and now your sleep is disrupted every 2 hours. You're still in pain from that procedure. And this goes on continuously for weeks, sometimes months, sometimes years.
Yep.
And so take the baby out of it and just that actual experience. I mean, none of us would do well in that experience. And then you're asking me to love this baby. And so I think in postpartum work, I talk a lot with women about, let's do that. This is happening. And therefore I say this about myself. So I try to get them to vocalize their judgments, their shame, their sense of fear about what it means if they're going to be a good mother or not. All those things, those deep, dark fears that make us not reach out for help. I didn't reach out for help. The freaking psychologist didn't reach out for help.
Yep.
Because of shame, because of fear. I didn't want anybody to look at me and go, what do you mean you're not feeling it? I don't know. That real fear that there's something wrong with you. So normalizing
it's real.
So real. And so common, it's not everybody, but still it's common. And then, we just loop back. Let's just throw in the lack of sleep again. And so my confidence is depleted, my sense of competence and being able to do things. I don't feel like myself. So all of that is absolutely magnified. And so I really try to normalize it. I try to get them to notice what they're saying about themselves as a result of what they're going through so that they can understand that, because the shame and the guilt and the judgments are what will keep them awake too, because they'll be worrying about the fact that they don't think they're being a good mother or they've got what it takes or, whatever that is. I've got to make my own baby food. I've got to sterilize everything. I've got to, just every pressure that they put themselves under as far as things that they should or supposed to be doing. And like you said, breastfeeding cannot happen. It can just not work. And there are alternatives, to pumping, to obviously that's why formula was designed, and to keep from judging women who are struggling with some of those things. And like you said, it's not their fault. It's just, it happens. So yeah, that's kind of my main thing, is just to really get them to talk, get them to normalize it. But I have the challenge that people don't reach out, because I really do think it's quite, it's stigmatized to have postpartum.
But this is why you guys are creating a safe space. Like, that's why you're starting this show, so that people can really get to know you both and know that they're not alone, right, during these times. Right. I think that's really important. So you guys,
they're not alone. There's I have a myriad of resources. I mean, just you, for one, Bonnie, that I can refer people to, but also locally for other things. Like, I have great lactation consultants that I refer to. And I personally, because I know how hard it is, not personally, but from the amount of women that I have worked with, how hard breastfeeding is, I recommend they have a lactation consultant come in the first week they're home from the hospital as soon as possible. I would prefer it like the first day, but that doesn't always work out that way. And I like that even if everything is going really well, because you have a baseline, because you never know what is going to happen in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months, what have you. As the baby grows, different stuff can happen. So you get that. And also, moms are getting great tips right from the get-go, especially if their goal is to 100% breastfeed, instead of feeling something is wrong with them and shame that it's not working right away. So that's one of my things too, and they'll sleep better too, because they'll knowing that they're feeding the baby, and that's taking pressure off of them.
Yeah.
Also, just so many other resources that are out there. Physically, to have somebody come in, help them. Just like you said, like depending on the type of delivery that they had, a lot of times they might need to do some physical therapy, or have a physical therapist come to the house and get them back together for all of that. And I've got wonderful people for that too. But a lot of times, again, they feel shame. They're like, feel shame to say, I'm still in pain. I'm still this, I'm that. Everything should be working back together. It's there's just so much. There's just so much too. But there are amazing resources out there to help people with trauma beforehand, afterwards, during, all of that. And one of the things that we've got going on right now, which is, it's a shame, but at the same time I completely understand it, is the hospitals with delivery right now are not allowing birth doulas, or some of them aren't allowing birth doulas in the delivery room. And a lot of times they're not even allowing their spouse in there. So imagine the trauma that can possibly happen, because now all of a sudden they've got what's going on in our world. They can't have somebody that they fully trust and care for helping them, and they've got all this other stuff going on. So we're going to have a lot more women who are going to come with more trauma because of it. And not their fault at all. It's just what we're in right now. And it's not the hospital's fault, because they're just trying to, minimize the amount of people and take care of everybody as best that they can. But this can be the result of what can happen because of it.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are so awesome. What a great first episode. So tell everybody how they can follow you both on social media, and what they can do if you guys have questions going forward. We'll put this video in a Facebook group. We'll share it on their social media channels. You guys can ask questions, but you guys want to share how they can follow you on social media.
On Instagram, I'm Dr. Bonnie Wims. That's Instagram. And then Facebook is Bonnie Wims.
Nice. Instagram, I believe I am Gentle Giraffes Newborn Care, and Twitter, I would believe it's the same thing, and then Facebook is Gentle Giraffes Newborn Care and Family Services as well. But you can always email me at gentlegiraffes1082@gmail if you have private questions, or you can message me as well.
Oh, that's good. An email. My email is
go for it.
Bonnie@Wims, WIMS, and Associates.com.
Love it. All right, guys, stay tuned for the next Doc and Doula show. Thanks for watching.